getting these looks? Who's helping you get these T-shirts?
We're just finding them. You know what I'm saying? You go outside, you go down the street, all those tents set up. You go snag them up. But I'm just paying my dues, honestly. You know what I'm saying? This is a basketball town, and these guys put in the work for the arena to be as loud as it was last night. So, you know, I appreciate everybody on this shirt for making this organization what it is.
On a different topic, I remember after one of the Clippers games, you and Chris were in the room at the same time, and you were kind of lamenting or reminiscing about early in the season when Monty was like, we got the worst starting five in the league, and we need to figure some things out. And you said that you and Chris did sit down and talk about some things. Just what do you remember about those conversations and what you guys sort of did figure out, and how quickly do you feel like you figured it out that sort of has launched what the season has become?
We sat down. It wasn't just me and Chris. It was the whole starting five. And we were just really honest with each other. And, you know, I always say we hang our hat on the defense end, and that's where most of the conversation was. You know, we obviously have to figure out a chemistry on the offense end and how we're going to move and what pace we're going to move at. But, you know, if we're not going to be scoring, the other team can't be scoring either. And those conversations, all those bits and pieces, all those moments, you know, I think are, you know, why we're in the position we're in right now. But, you know, we still have to get the job done.
Dwayne?
Wanted to ask, are you asking your dad about the guys on the shirts?
I was just talking to Julie about them. Julie's been here. Julie's with all these guys.
Right.
But no, I've watched. I've done my research.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm just checking because the shirt looks a lot newer than what it should. That's all I'm
I've
saying.
done a lot of research. It was well kept.
Yeah,
Well kept.
okay.
Those are the ones you got to find.
Quick follow though. Just curious about finding roles. Each guy. When did you start seeing that? Not necessarily yourself, but other guys were starting to accept or embrace their roles. At what point in the season did you see that formulating?
I talked about that East Coast road trip that we went on. I think that was a heavy hitter lineup for us where, and I wouldn't say everybody found their role, but, you know, we came together more than ever at that time, and understanding that, you know, if we want to get done what we got to get done, that, you know, we're all going to have to sacrifice something. And I think every great team has to do that.
Devin, two-part question here. Monty has been praising you recently about when you guys first met, when you got the job, that you were telling him that you'd be open to whatever he wants you to do. So a two-parter here. What do you recall about that meeting? What do you think Monty's overall impact has been on the group?
Yeah, I think it was the day after he became the head coach. We went to dinner. We were just chopping it up, and you know, I just told him whatever it takes. You know, I've never had a problem with any coach I've ever had since grade school. So just let me know what I got to do. Let me know what I got to do better at. Be honest with me, and you know, I'm gonna go do that to the best of my ability. And you know, I think that was the start of us forming this environment that we live in, that we get better in every day now. Just having that relationship with Coach, the open dialogue, communication, him understanding where we come from as players also helps that out a lot. And yeah, you know, that's what we live on. You know, the energy in our gym, the culture that we're around. And I think that's why we've, you know, continued to trend in the right direction as the year went on.
Go ahead, Sam.
Devin, you've talked about Kobe a lot and the impact he had on you. To steal a phrase from, you know, he had a documentary called Muse where he talked about everything that shaped him. I just wonder, from Kobe to the other folks who played a part in shaping your game, who was it for you when you figured out who you wanted to be as a player and the way you moved in this space? Beyond Kobe, who comes to mind?
Rip Hamilton. And I actually got the chance when I broke my nose to have, you know, a short conversation with him, and we've talked in the past, but you know, that was my childhood hero. That whole team, honestly, even playing against the Clippers last series and Big Shot Billups sitting over there on the bench, you know, that's an inspiration for me. Those moments there, even just by looking at Chauncey on the sideline, like, will lock me back in immediately. So there's tons of guys, honestly, but if we're talking one, it's, my Piston guys for sure.
Hey, Devin. You talked about this a little bit before in the past, but demographically, Phoenix has a large Latino population, and I'm wondering what that's been like for you, given your background, connecting with that side of your past, and then, what are some of the ways you've explored that while you've been here?
I'm around it every day. I always say, I'm fortunate enough to live around it, seeing it in the stands, seeing it around the city, and growing up in Grand Rapids, Michigan, you don't get as much of it. Besides the time that I spent with my grandpa and my mother, what she's passed down to us, but living around it in the culture and get to seeing it day to day, is a lot better. And being able to touch those type of communities in this area makes all this that much better.
Hey, Book, congratulations on the NBA Cares Award. When you announced the starting five at the start, what's it like now, 2 years into it, to seeing everything come to fruition and knowing the impact that's going to have beyond now?
This is my favorite part. It's my favorite part. I don't care for much recognition or anything else that I do, and I don't do it for the recognition, but I'm glad that the foundation is getting this type of light and this type of exposure, because it means a lot. It means a lot to this community. It means a lot to my family. It means a lot to my brother being on the board at Phoenix Suns Charities. It's what we get the most excited about. So, for us to win that award, I wouldn't say for me to win it, for Phoenix Suns Charities, for the whole foundation to win that award is really important to us.
Dave?
Look, there was a tweet that was going around last night where it said you never scored 20 at Kentucky.
Mm-mm.
You only had 10 shot attempts 4 times. You go from that to a guy who scores 70 in a game to now who's dropping 27 in the NBA Finals. Did it cause you any doubt back in college?
No, I just know it's that Coach Calipari guy. No, what I said earlier, every great team has to have sacrifices, and I don't think, it might have happened once or twice, but a team that talented, that many guys, that many NBA guys in one practice gym to even make it work as well as Coach Cal did with the whole platooning system was incredible. So we all had to buy in. We all had to sacrifice and just understand our role. I mean, Karl Towns didn't leave the paint. He never left the paint. Coach Cal, I remember vividly practices where Karl would shoot a 3 and Coach Cal would lose his mind, and now he's a 40% 7-foot shooter. So just understanding that, understanding and adjusting and, what can I do to help this team win? And, that was my role there. I think I only ran like 4 pick and rolls my whole college career, but, it got us in the position to get where we needed to go.
Does that apply to the talent of this group? Like the
Yeah.
collective talent?
Yeah. There's guys sacrificing. And that's all of us. Everybody can play. Everybody's hoopers, and even the guys that aren't playing, can play any other team. And, still a big part of how we continue to grow, how we continue to get better. Those guys understanding the game and, us all respecting each other, to the amount to where, people can come to you with open dialogue and let you know when you're not doing what you're supposed to do.
We'll go to Palmer on Zoom before we try to get back to Chris and Dwayne here.
Next up is Barry Bloom with Sportico, followed by Cameron Cox.
Hey, Book, good to see you again. It's been a pleasure watching you and your teammates throughout the playoffs.
Thank you.
Just looking at the logistics of things, if this series goes 7 games, it ends on the 23rd. The first game for the Olympic team in Tokyo is on the 25th. Are you still planning on being on that team? You're on the roster, and how are the logistics of this going to work for you?
Next thing smoking, I'll be there. But obviously not my main focus right now. I've reached out to Coach Pop. I reached out to Coangelo just recently and told him, I've seen all the guys reported to Vegas, and, any other place I'd rather be is the finals. But, I would love to be there with the guys, and, I'll be there soon.
How important is the Olympics for you?
Very important. Life goal of mine. I've always said, I think it's the most prestigious event, that basketball can find. So to be a part of representing your country, I think brings you to a whole nother stratosphere of, the guys that, just thinking of the guys that have came before us and represented our country. And, I don't think there's anything better than winning a gold medal.
Next is Cameron Cox of 12 News.
Hey, Book, hope all is well. The same way, you grew up looking up to Kobe and guys like Rip and, modeled your game after them. Do you see this next generation of kids kind of looking up to you in a way? And is that something that you think about?
I hope so. I obviously have a lot of work to do, and hopefully a long career ahead of me. But, that's what it's about, to be honest, is, passing down, to the next generation, inspiring the next generation. I always leave my idols that I reach out to, or my really close friends, when they do something special, I always leave them with keep inspiring. Because that's the most important thing to me. Like you guys, Rip Hamilton, Kobe Bryant, those guys have literally shaped and paved my whole entire life. I don't think without their mentality and their approach that I'd be sitting in this chair right now. So I know how important that is, to the young kid in Mississippi or the young kid in South Florida or the young kid in China. I know how important that can be. I know what it's done for my life. So, hopefully I can have those type of impacts on, other people.
Final two questions, Chris, then Dwayne.
Hey, Book, going back a little bit to your foundation in the league, Earl Watson used to tell me that he felt like they got the best player in that draft. And I know, personally, having conversations with him, he wanted to accelerate your curve, and you wasn't getting you wasn't getting the playing time initially that you ended up getting. What was that period like for you? Those first couple of years with Earl, and what did it do? What did it do for your game?
Everything. I credit Earl, to a lot. He was one of the early ones in the NBA industry to believe in me to that extent. And, I think it started with him being my player development, before he was the head coach. So he watched the work that he put in with me. He was on the court with me, sweating with me, putting in the work with me. And, it just coincidentally happened that he ended up being the head coach, but he threw me in the fire. He gave me the chance to go out there and make mistakes and play through mistakes, which, a lot of young players don't get the chance to do that in this league. So, having a coach behind you like that believes in you to that degree, that gives you a confidence that you have never felt before. And me and Earl's relationship is still here today like that. So I credit him for a lot, man. I'm just thinking back all the times that we're out on the court together and we're playing real ones. I wasn't getting any playing time at the time, so we were getting after each other. And then the next year he's my head coach. So it was a quick turnaround, but that man believed in me to the fullest.
Yeah, Devin, with Dario, the injury, you just speak to that, and then what's the adjustment you feel like you guys can make or will make with him being out?
It hurts. It hurt our whole group. Dario's our guy. He's our energy in the locker room that you guys don't get to see, but we love him, and we're here with them. Obviously, in an unfortunate turn of events. But, we're going to reach out to him. We're going to make sure, he's mentally right and that he's in the right spirit, and we're on the road to recovery. But, as far as the court go, obviously we're going to be missing his presence and the things that he does out there. But everybody's going to have to give a little bit more.
Thanks, Devin.
Thank you.